Two. Just give us a sec.
I just have to make sure that
Just gonna wait one more minute and then we'll get started. Okay. Okie dokie. Okay, let's get started. It's 12:02. So, hello and welcome back to our fourth annual New Year's Wellness Series, packed with meaningful guidance on spiritual, relational, emotional, nutritional, physical, and mental wellness. I'm Robin Rubin, founder of the Robin Rubin Center for Happiness and Life Enhancement. This center is housed on the Sandler School of Social Work within the College of Social Work and Criminal Justice at FAU. We offer weekly online meditation sessions, bi-monthly in-person yoga classes, and monthly wellness workshops. All of our offerings are free of charge and open to everyone: students, faculty, staff, friends, and family. The Robin Rubin Center for Happiness and Life Enhancement is pleased to co-sponsor this series with our friends at the Marcus Institute of Integrative Health at FAU Medicine. Integrative health is a holistic, patient-focused approach to healthcare and wellness. At the Marcus Institute, their physicians treat the whole person by examining everything that makes up a patient's health, including factors that can lead to disease, affect nutrition, exercise, and stress. Ultimately, patients and physicians are partners in healing and wellness. We're posting links in the chat now and invite you to learn more about the Robin Rubin Center and the Marcus Institute and make plans to join us again in the near future. So we have those links. Today, I'm super excited to present our speaker, Maria Benzo, MD/MS. Dr. Maria Benzo is an international medical doctor specializing in physical medicine and rehabilitation, with a master's degree in positive psychology and certification as a professional coach by the International Coaching Federation. Currently, she is an assistant professor of medicine and a research associate at the Mayo Clinic, focusing on behavioral research and health and wellness coaching for medical patients. Her expertise spans medicine, positive psychology, mindfulness, motivational interviewing, and acceptance and commitment therapy, enabling her to design integral coaching interventions that enhance psychological flexibility and overall well-being. Well, what could be better than that? So without further ado, I'd like to present Dr. Maria Benzo.
Thank you, Robin. It's always great to be greeted by a friend and a colleague. Welcome, everyone. I'm very happy to be here. Happy New Year. What a great way to put all our intentions as we start this 2025. The focus of today's workshop is cultivating spiritual wellness. And at a glance, spirituality isn't just about religious beliefs. It's about connecting with something bigger than yourself, outside of yourself, that brings meaning and purpose and connection to your life. This can involve, of course, following an established religious tradition, but it can also focus on a very personal spiritual practice like breath work, service to others, time in nature, or gratitude. So Oh, there we go. Okay, so most of us learn at a very young age that happiness is the most important thing in our life. And if we're not feeling happy, there's something wrong with us. So we go through life striving for things that we think will make us happy. And time again, we're disappointed to find that the happiness these things bring is fleeting or less than we'd imagine. In the Western world, where we have more material wealth, more opportunity than ever before in human history, is it possible that in this world of abundance, there's an epidemic of psychological stress and suffering? We're more connected, but many of us feel isolated or lonely. We're working, long hours, having maniac lifestyles, blindly driven by the urge to earn, achieve, and possess. But is it any wonder that we feel like we're running a race all the time? So the essence for today is, what is spirituality and how can it contribute to our happiness? So when we're exploring spirituality, we're kind of, let's think of this as a path, right? It's hard to say that we're going to find it in one day, in 1 second. And it really, it's a path towards that well-being. And I like to kind of switch the word well-being into being well, right? It's not so much about doing things, it's about being. It's about being with yourself, being in this connectedness to yourself and to something greater. So again, spirituality, what the intention of spirituality is to connect you to something greater, is to connect you to your meaning and purpose. And it's not a single path or belief system. There are many ways to experience spirituality. And this is a little bit of what we're going to talk about today. So you guys have been going through several workshops, and yeah, every workshop is meant to, if you will, work on a dimension of wellness. And today we're going to focus on the spiritual part. And again, spiritual wellness doesn't mean that we're happy all the time. It just means that we are cultivating a rich, fulfilling, and meaningful life that embraces the good and the good emotions, the bad emotions, the good times and the struggles. So why are we spending time on this today? There are research-backed benefits to having a spiritual practice. In other words, people that have a spiritual practice actually reap the benefits of better mental health, so lower anxiety, lower depression, lower substance abuse, greater sense of well-being, so increased happiness and life satisfaction, having more resilience, the ability to better cope with life struggles. I mean, they will come, right? Because we're human beings. We don't have perfect lives. And also it enhances our social support because it tends to broaden our network and community connections. So finding an approach that makes sense for you so you can reap these benefits as well. What we're going to talk about today, so in this specific workshop, we're going to talk about secular spiritual practices. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of what that means and what's the difference with religious spiritual practice, right? Some people rather have their spiritual experiences in churches or in temples, while others might have these feelings just enjoying some connection time in nature. And that is all good. The idea today is that you might be sparked with something that perhaps caught your attention and that you might want to be curious and investigate and develop as your spiritual practice. There's nothing right or wrong with secular or religious. It's just whatever makes sense for you. So secular practices tend to be more personal and flexible. They don't have to adhere to a specific set of rules, and they often focus on a personal journey of discovering what is meaningful in your life. It can overlap with religious beliefs and practices. So again, you kind of create your own spiritual path. The difference with religious practices is that a religion is an organized, community-based, tradition-focused practice. It's usually based on specific set of rules and customs, and it focuses on beliefs like deities and gods and religious texts and traditions. So just for the practicality of today, we are going to talk more about what are these secular spiritual practices. And these are, if you will, the boom of the moment, right? So a few decades back, most spiritual experiences tended to be more religious. Nowadays, this is really becoming more popular amongst people. So I'm going to, if you will, show you a few of these today. This is not the complete list of spiritual practices. Spirituality is very broad. These are the ones that are very, if you will, popular within, with the current time we live in. But again, I don't want you to think as this is all there is. This is just what I chose to bring to you today because they're accessible and they're popular at nowadays. So types of breath works, for example. I mean, perhaps you've heard of the art of living, perhaps you've heard of pranayamas. They are breathing practices that connects you, that fosters this mind-body connection. I'm sure you've heard about meditation practices, right? So what is in the eye of the storm right now is mindfulness. And I happen to be a lover of mindfulness, but there are many types of meditation. Mindfulness is one type of meditation. So perhaps you might like transcendental meditation. Perhaps you like visualization. Perhaps you like specific types of guided meditations. Again, time, this is about what makes sense for you. And for example, nature time. Nature is this source that we all have access to that reaps abundance, right? When we are in spaces surrounded by nature, we can see, right? What we almost come into this state of awe to see, the brightness, the colors, the energy, the wildlife. So time in nature is also considered a spiritual practice, and it does require us to be there in the moment and to be open and curious to it. So it's not only me showing up in front of a tree, it's also what is my intention at that moment. And spirituality has a lot of that. What is the intention that you're showing up with? Another practice that I also come to love for many years is yoga. So yoga is a practice that comes from, if you will, India and from Hinduism backgrounds, but it's a mind-body practice as well. The meaning of yoga is yog, which means to unite, to connect. And as you will, you begin to discover all of these spiritual practices have the common ground of connection to something greater, connection to yourself, and connection to others. So this connectedness is kind of like this gold thread that comes through all of these types of practices. More practices to consider, perhaps a reflective journaling practice. So sometimes it's good to dive into these deep questions. What matters to me? What are my values? What makes sense for me? What are my guiding principles? And journaling, and inquiring, really just being able to sit with the inquiry is already generating things within you. And we'll do a little bit of that very briefly today. And then another big source of spirituality is being in service to others. When we contribute to something greater within ourselves, when we tap into that common humanity and we extend that compassion, there's something there that is almost magical. And that again, it connects us to something greater, which comes to be this common thread, right? in spirituality. And last but not least, but it's one of my favorite spiritual practices, is the practice of gratitude. And again, we're going to do a little bit of that too today. So this list, which I very quickly went through, is just to give you an idea. It's not the absolute list, it's just an initial list. So again, if you leave with anything today, leave with the concept that spirituality has everything to do with connecting. So connecting to yourself, what makes your life meaningful, connecting to something greater, perhaps nature, and connecting to others. We are going to do a few practices today, so I do hope that you are in a comfortable place. I do hope that perhaps you have some time to, I don't know, just drop in and really be with your experience. For the first practice, if you have somewhere to jot down some notes, it's better. If you don't, just be with the reflection and see what comes, and maybe later on you might expand on that. But we're going to do 3 practices today. One is we'll reflect a little bit on these questions, what matters in life. And the reason we're going to practice them is because I think that as adults, we learn better through experience. So again, this is what we will try to do in, let's see, the 10, 15 minutes we have left. Because I want to leave a lot of time for us to discuss and to have a Q&A. So before we get into the deep questions and the reflections of today, we need to start, we need to level with each other. We need to kind of start at the same starting line. And with the concept that we all care about something. And we are all human beings with human lives that are inevitably imperfect. And with caring comes pain. And with caring also comes purpose. So as we kind of accept this truth of human beings, I'm going to invite you into the first exercise, which I'm going just to read at a very slow, relaxed pace, some questions. And these questions are meant to just spark within you, your own answers. And if nothing comes up, it's okay. Even just asking the question is generating something. So I'll ask you perhaps to, again, sit in a comfortable seat. If you're going to write some notes down, that's great. If you're not, just maybe soften your gaze or close your eyes so you can drop in as you hear these questions. So first of all, what core values guide your actions and decisions in your life? What are the fundamental principles that are most important to you? Perhaps consider compassion, forgiveness, kindness, creativity, honesty. And how do these values influence your choices? What you do for work, where you work, how they influence your relationships, and how do they influence you? What core values guide your decisions? Second question is, how do you define spirituality and how does it manifest in your life? What does it mean to you? Does it involve a religion? Is it connecting to nature? Is it knowing your sense of purpose? third question is, what experiences have shaped your spiritual beliefs or practices? So think of moments of joy or hardship or transformation or awe that have impacted your spiritual journey. How did these experiences shape your understanding of yourself and the world around you? Sometimes as we think of those important, impactful moments of our lives, we learn something about ourselves. The fourth question is, am I living in alignment with my spiritual principles? And if not, what changes need to be made? In other words, are your actions consistent with your values? And if not, how can we bridge the gap? And last but not least, in these powerful questions, how do I cultivate a sense of inner peace and connection with something greater than myself? What practices, what activities bring a sense of calmness and tranquility? How do you connect to something greater, to a higher power, to a sense of purpose, to nature? Well, I'm hoping that these questions brought something up for you. And if it did, we'll have some time at the end to discuss it. So please keep it and bring it up later on. That was a practice of reflection. And now we're going to talk a little bit about the power of gratitude. And I'm sure you've had some experience with this, right? We've all been thankful at some time, if not at least at Thanksgiving, we're thankful about having our nice meal. But the power of gratitude is there. Why is there power in gratitude? That is the question. It refers to a significant positive impact it has if practiced. So if we practice gratitude, it has a significant positive impact in our mental and physical health. That is huge. So it has been shown that practicing gratitude, it increases your life satisfaction, your positive mindset, your vitality. You tend to be more forgiving. You tend to have more positive affect. It also broadens your perspective, allowing you to be more creative and more insightful. And not only all of that good stuff, but it reduces the stuff that we want less of, which is envy, negativity, depression, anxiety. So there is a lot of benefits of practicing gratitude. And, from a brain chemistry point of view, it triggers the release of feel-good chemicals like dopamine and serotonin. So it's like exercise, after you exercise, you have that bliss, you have that high. Well, the power of gratitude also does that. And it enhances our relationships. It enhances our resilience. So when we're having a hard time, it helps us cope with that hard time. The ways to practice gratitude are several. For example, gratitude journaling. For example, counting your blessings. Sometimes even the expressing gratitude verbally. So telling the people that you appreciate them, but really taking that time to look at them face to face and say, hey, I appreciate you. Thank you for just being here. And that is part of the relationship enhancement part that it has. And other ways are gratitude meditation. So what we're going to do, and we only have a few minutes in the formal presentation part, I'm going to invite you guys to do a brief gratitude meditation. And the reason that we have those lenses right there, the reasons that we have these lenses here is because when we practice gratitude, it changes our filters. So it shifts our mindset. Perhaps we're having a hard day. Perhaps our mind is going to a little negative spiral, right? We practice gratitude and there is a shift. And that's amazing, right? And I love this quote from Buddha saying, thoughts manifest as the world, as the world. The words manifest as deeds. The deeds develop into habits, and habits hardens our character. So our thoughts, they tend to come into and shape our character. So let's be selective of our thoughts, right? Not that we can do it always, but when we can be intentional about a practice, let's be selective what thoughts we want to infuse in our character. So this is, the last experience exercise we're going to have. So just find a comfortable position, find a position that embodies wakefulness and curiosity. And now let's focus all of our attention in the flow of our breath. Just observing the air as it comes in and out of the body. No need to control it. Just observing the inhale and exhale. And as we breathe in, let's breathe in this energy, this whatever it is that we need. And let's breathe out and release our muscles, perhaps just soften the muscles. Breathing in the energy and breathing out, releasing tension, relaxing your face, your shoulders, your arms. And now on your next breath, let's see if we can embrace feelings of love, compassion, kindness. Perhaps now focusing on our attention on the heart chakra in the center of our chest where our heart lies. It's the center of love, compassion, and emotional balance. It's there where our ability to give and receive love, to form meaningful connections and feel empathy. Perhaps placing your hand here in the center of your chest, feeling a sense of warmth. Embracing the sense of loving kindness as you're breathing it in and it's bathing your body. Calling to your mind's eye now something for which you are grateful. Perhaps a person, perhaps an object, perhaps an experience, perhaps just allowing whatever it is that you're grateful for to allow that feeling of gratitude overflow. We can feel gratitude for being healthy, for being able to walk, for being able to travel, for being able to do things we love. things that give meaning to our lives. Breathing deeply and embracing gratitude, allowing yourself to enjoy this moment, to rest in this moment. And now very gently, we're going to come back to our time together. We're going to take 2 deep breaths to harvest the sense of gratitude so that we can take it with us the rest of the day. And very slowly come back. And I'm wondering, how are you feeling? Did anything shift? So that's the idea of this gratitude practice. We may be having a heck of a day, but having the intention and the discipline of the practice can shift our mindset, and that is the powerful part. So before we end, of course, I mentioned before other ways of practice, and one way is service to others, really sharing your compassion, wanting to improve this world, connecting to something greater than yourself. Again, another great quote is, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. So these are all practices that you can choose if they make sense for you or not. The idea is to spark some curiosity today. And before we end, there are some pitfalls to being too spiritual. I mean, sometimes we rely on spirituality to get away from things that we need to deal with. And that's not the intention. So let's make sure that we use our spirituality in a way that helps us become the best person we can be, and not rely on spirituality as a way of avoidance. So with that, I'll say, your spiritual journey is personal to you. It's flexible. It needs to work for you. It is grounded on connectedness to something greater, to yourself and to others around you. May you reap the benefits of spirituality. We all want improved mental health, happiness, life satisfaction, resilience, social support. I know this was a very brief jumpstart, but I just have to say thank you for allowing me to be here. I'm going to share some references, and I would love for everybody to hop on and just Q&A, share your observations, all of that.
Thank you so much, Maria. So we can take some questions now. Does anybody have any questions for Maria?
Before we dive into questions, I'm going to drop a link for a survey. So please, everyone, take a minute to complete the survey. It lets us know what we're doing right and what more of things you'd like to see in the Robin Rubin Center.
Great. Thank you, Danielle. So yeah, go ahead and do that survey. I just, one of the things that I never really think about spirituality as just equaling connection. And that just makes so much sense to me. When you ask those questions at the beginning, like what kind of guides you, and then the questions that followed it. For me, I was writing, the thing that kind of guides me is that family is everything. And then once I have that as kind of like what guides me, it kind of fills in all the blanks after that, But so I love that. So thank you. And I just love thinking of spirituality as having absolutely nothing to do with religion and everything to do with connection, because that, at the end of the day, that's all it is.
Yeah, and I think it makes it more accessible because to some extent, it's personal to us, right? Because every spiritual journey will be different, but it makes it more your own, right? Not something that is bestowed upon you, but something that you really hold close to you.
Yeah, that you actually, each individual person creates it for themselves,
Yes, yes.
which then feels just so much nicer than it being, forced on you or anything like that. So does anybody have any questions?
Someone in the chat would like to see the references again.
Oh, yeah, let me pull those up. Absolutely.
And then after that, the slide with the benefits of gratitude.
Absolutely.
And remember for everyone on today that these are all recorded. So if you ever want to listen